Trump advisor Peter Navarro was sentenced to 4 months in prison today for defying a subpoena from the House January 6 Select Committee. Navarro is now the second Trump aide sentenced to prison time for stonewalling Congress's January 6th investigation. Steve Bannon also received a 4-month prison sentence. That decision is currently on hold pending appeal. In the sentencing hearing today, Navarro tried to argue that, quote, "When I received that congressional subpoena, I had an honest belief that the privilege had been invoked." The judge overseeing the case, Amita Mehta, called out Navarro's hypocrisy, telling him, quote, "You're more than happy to talk to the press about what you did, but not go up to the Hill to talk to Congress," adding, "You are not a victim. You are not the object of a political prosecution. You aren't. You have received every process you are due." Navarro was quick to file a notice of appeal almost immediately after the sentence was issued. Joining our conversation, NBC News Justice reporter Ryan Riley, who was at the courthouse for us earlier. Harry Litman is still with us. Ryan, our team was inside for the hearing this morning. Take us inside what happened.
Yeah, so Peter Navarro stands during these sentencing, during ready-edited court proceedings. So, he's standing next to the table as they go through this. But, I think he's pretty defiant until the end. At the beginning of the presentation, his attorney, Stanley Woodward, said that Navarro would not be making any comments. But Navarro did end up making comments at the end here, in which got a little bit of pushback from the judge. But I think what the judge sort of laid out, which we see a lot from judges these days, is just sort of throwing out these notions that this is all politically driven. We see this with a lot of the January 6 prosecutions as well. And that's a message, I think, that Judge Mehta was really trying to send here, saying that, you take a look at the Mark Meadows situation, the former White House chief of staff, who, hired a lawyer who was dealing directly with the committee and took it seriously, as opposed to Navarro, who really just blew this off and, went and wrote a book about this and went and made comments all over the place, but refused and stonewalled Congress and didn't take their request seriously. And the same sort of thing with Steve Bannon. And in Steve Bannon's case, it was different because Steve Bannon didn't even really have an operational claim that he was protected by executive privilege because he had been out of the White House so long. He was a podcast host on January 6th itself, and none of the stuff that the committee was actually seeking had to do with the time when Bannon was actually at the White House, which was years ago. So Navarro and Bannon were slightly differently situated because you had a situation with Navarro actually being a member of the administration, but ultimately the judge ultimately ended up handing down the same sentence for both of them, 4 months behind bars. Although this isn't going to be something that's going to be operational anytime soon. There's obviously that appeal immediately followed, and Steve Bannon is still sort of pursuing his appeal. So there's going to be a delay here before any actual requirement to report to jail is ultimately going to come up here, Alicia.
Harry, here's some of what Judge Mehta said about Navarro's executive privilege claims. Quote, "It's not a get-out-of-jail-free card. Sure, there are privileges, there are immunities, but to simply not engage these, just no basis for it." I mean, did Navarro's executive privilege claims ever stand a chance, Harry?
Not as they turned out to be. I mean, it turned out that he was just invoking some stray statement that Trump made in the press saying he should invoke executive privilege. So no kind of command, no order at all. And Ryan's right, of course, that Navarro, who's a pretty wacky figure, this is Mr. Green Bay Sweep, as you may remember, was in the administration, but not really. He's an economics guy far afield, whereas both Meadows and Scavino are in the center circle with Trump. That doesn't mean they're not culpable, but it does mean the DOJ, which basically calls ties for defendants, could say they had a real basis for thinking that they could defy Congress. Navarro, no. And as Ryan says, first he wasn't going to say anything. Then he came out and made it sound as if he was really, on the horns of a dilemma. But that was bogus. He had really nothing from Trump supporting his claim that he was supposed to invoke executive privilege.
Ryan, I need not remind you nor our viewers that Navarro spent a lot of time on cable news around the time of his conviction. Here's just a little bit. One of his appearances here on MSNBC. This is back from September.
When we take it all together, you were out there discussing aspects of what you call the sweep or this plot for January 6th in public. You took this fight all the way through the committee, through the courtroom, through DOJ. And now you might risk going to prison in losing this legal fight for refusing to describe under oath what you had described in public Does that make sense? Was it all worth it?
That's not okay. Look, first of all, and last of all, I did the honorable thing. I did my duty to the country, Constitution, and the law. The president invoked executive privilege, period.
Right, I both want you to sort of debunk what it is we heard there from Navarro, the argument that he is making, and also speak to the fact that he's been pretty consistent in his defiance, and I wonder, watching all this, how much that defiance hurt him here.
Well, first of all, we should say that Joe Biden waived executive privilege in this instance, right? That was sort of an unusual circumstance, and said that the needs of the country did not mean that executive privilege for Donald Trump should be invoked here. But also, the main problem for Navarro is that there's just no evidence that Donald Trump even suggested executive privilege here. He could not produce that evidence to the court. There was a carefully worded letter that did not purport to say that Donald Trump had actually invoked executive privilege specifically for Peter Navarro. And Navarro did not testify during his trial. So he didn't even say under oath that Donald Trump told me that I'm covered by executive privilege, or that he was invoking executive privilege here. There's just nothing that he could really look to here. But, it's important to remember why the committee was so interested in Peter Navarro's words. I sat through case after case, January 6th case after January 6th case, in which defendants have cited that Donald Trump tweet on December 19th, 2020 as the reason that they came to the Capitol, or the reason that they came to D.C. Just very shortly thereafter, a couple of weeks later on January 6th. Donald Trump's "will be wild" tweet was based upon, sort of an added comment on this Peter Navarro quote unquote report that he put together that claimed it was, quote, statistically impossible for Donald Trump to have lost the election, which he indeed did lose. So that is really what was motivating a lot of folks, was Donald Trump's tweet that was built off of this report that Peter Navarro had put together. So there's a real reason why the committee felt the need that they wanted to talk to him, Alicia.
Harry Navarro, he has vowed to take this up to the Supreme Court. Do you think it ends up there?
No, he gets an automatic appeal. And really an important point, this is going to figure in everything, including Trump. Will the judge give him bail pending appeal? He's very much on all fours with Bannon, who got bail pending appeal from a different judge, actually a Trump appointee. But we're going to find out in many cases, will a district court judge say, while you appeal this, you can remain at liberty, or do you not have really anything to present to the Court of Appeals, so you have to go in? And of course, with a 4-month sentence, by the time the appeal would be over, he would have served his sentence. So that's still to be determined. They're going to brief that next week. In any event, it'll be affirmed in short order by the D.C. Circuit and will not go up to the Supreme Court. He really is an open and shut case, as the prosecutors told the judge today.